I think I'm ready to attack the kind of the meat of what we're gonna do is basically to okay, we have no goal. So right now we are experiencing a different kind of world, and I wanted to see if we could have a theme. So if you can, I'm going to actually go in the comments, and I'm going to start by saying, okay, this is the full screen method. I'm going to see if I can have it as upper left. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. The next task is going to be we're going to put all of our worlds into a window. The window will be upper left quadrant, and we'll have the worlds, and then to the right quadrant we'll have a card that has a note. It has a title, and it has the description. And our first topic will be procedural worlds, and then a brief description of what it is. So if we go inside of this one, it's like the universe, but it's a ripple. We call this Kindle. We have the release, but if we go kind of down, you see how it's spreading outward. It's releasing particles, and I think that's kind of like the artistry of it. This one is releasing particles. Now if we descend, let's check it. Wow, look at how beautiful this is. You have the sift. Ooh, this one is the most beautiful one. This one is absolutely magical. It has this pulsing grid, and I'm trying to figure out what I can use this for. There's this inversion too, and then I have fuse. Fuse is also kind of pretty. It's two things that are like blending together. You see, the worlds are like meshing with each other, and I wanted to have the idea a little bit more we're gonna split the layout now. I guess I can commit and save for now. Okay. I would want to actually have that a bit different. So I'm actually gonna write some code this time, because so look at this one. It's high performance. I was trying to create, like, I can zoom in actually, you see, and I can zoom out. Look at how it is. So I'm going to actually write some code, and I wonder if I should use my own text editor. We have Bloom. Bloom is wonderful. Bloom has like this word. It's, you know, it's a procedural world, so it's almost like a 3D, but not quite. And the next one is going to be Echo. This one is really pretty. This one is actually my favorite so far. It has this quality to it. Look at that. And then we have the Void. I call this the Void. And then Settlement. Ooh. It's like kind of like the universe, but with like some fractal elements to it. And I think that's one I wanted to explore. It kind of opens your mind too, you know, when you see kind of like reality that is displayed like that. And my point was to kind of see if we could maybe have some philosophical. Let me actually play some music to see how the world will respond. Let me. Actually, that's actually a good idea. What? How would we represent? Okay, that's the challenge. Uh, how would we? How would we represent time travel? Okay. Okay. Let's actually play music to see how the music would sound. Um, I want to see if I play the music. Okay, so this is how it looks like when there's music being played. So which one is your favorite? Okay, this reminds me of the game Portal. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna ask it to represent time this time. Let's see how time looks like. Okay. I'm going to refresh the page first. We're gonna create a new one, and it's going to I think let's capture the idea first. Okay, so this is what we get. Look at that. Okay, we have a little glitch, but it's okay. Let me put the music on. It's rebuilding the system. It is rebuilding the system. Okay, so now we have this left side, right? Look at that. Ooh, procedural worlds. Okay. Now, what if, do you guys like the dark theme, or ooh, look at how beautiful that is. Oh my god. This is pretty. Because I'm trying to create this procedure. Because what is a procedural world? It's cities, terrain, and structures generated from code. No 3D models, no imported assets. Every building spiral is built from mathematical rules. Well, show me the math. I think what would be interesting is how about we okay, here's what I'm thinking. Let's actually start from the primitives. I would say the bottom half where the texts are, let's make it brighter text so we can actually read it. And then on the procedural panel on the right side of the screen, why don't we have maybe primitives of procedural mathematics? And there we'll have a little gallery that shows for each active world, we'll have the primitive, one of few primitive elements in a card, and it also shows little mathematical rules. Okay, while this is going on and this is boiling over, we're going to create a fresh workspace on our idea pad. And for this, what this is what we're gonna do. Oh my god, look at that. Do you like this one? You know what? I'm going to try to represent this. Let's see if we can do something even more challenging. So right now, do you see? Okay, if we go in there, okay, you'll see these little objects floating here. This is the top. This is how they used to envision the world, like in the 80s when we had primitive graphic processing thingies. So it's like almost like a galaxy, but if you see in the distance, I think that's what I'm trying to show. Now my second favorite, let's see the echo. Echo is pretty, and it's not doing justice to what it looks like. It's like a nebula, and it has this nice quality to it. So if any of you have the ideas how we can make this different, I would love to. Let's see. Okay. How can we make this a little... Okay, please commit our changes. Okay, now let's go and actually write some code. So we're gonna create a new project, and we're gonna call it flow. In fact, I am building a whole IDE, so we could use that. Let me see if I refresh this. Okay, this actually is nice. Look at that. There's this like almost basement quality to it. Where is the world coming? Okay, let's ask a big question. You know, with okay, I want to flow back in there. I'm going to basically okay, so we have the particles, we have a lattice and a gold pass, we have binary orbit and a connection lines, two city clusters that are kind of fusing with each other, and how would I represent this with code? Okay, so let's represent the concept of a logic gate. Actually, I want to actually see that something interesting. It's all about interactivity and animation, and would you suggest? I want something quick iteration, high performance, and nice libraries to create procedural animations. And my first one would be to represent a logic gate in an animated fashion. In an animated fashion, what would you recommend? Okay, now is this okay? All right, so now I think on the right side we should have a tab. In this tab we'll have a code editor, And what would be a good language to represent this? It's almost like with syntax highlighting, where it's like almost like a code pad where we can type things and save that. And when it's saved, it will be saved to our maybe like a file, and we can call it back whenever we want to. Okay. Now let's let me check Gemini for some consultation, and I want to ask Gemini a simple question, and let's see what Gemini says. Gemini, and what I'm going to ask him is while this is refreshing, I wanted to show you we have a start menu. Okay, you know how Windows used to have start programs accessories? Let's actually do it. Let's actually have a different theme. We have the labs, and I have the garden. So this is like a procedural garden too, and I want to ask about procedural programming. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can split this into tabs. I want to have a split view. I'm going to have a split view between this and maybe the liminal world. Okay, now our question now will be this question. Procedural programming is a programming paradigm based on the concept of procedures, also known as routines and subroutines and functions. It's one of the oldest and foundational ways of writing code, focusing on the linear step-by-step approach to solving problems. Think of it like a recipe. You follow a specific sets of instructions in order to reach a final result. So you start with the main goal and kind of break it down into sub-functions. And now we have functions and procedures that are performing a different block. You can call these functions whenever you need them, which help reduce repetition. So now versus object-oriented. Okay, the better question it would be is, what is the better paradigm for agentic development, AI native software development? And let's see what this says. I also want to start creating some illustrations to kind of show better how things work. What I can do is I will have a code pad very soon. This is more like code pad for brainstorming. Okay. Files on disk. Okay. So now for agentic driven development, AI software, the industry is shifting away from traditional procedural and programming to intent-driven engineering. And intent-driven engineering is, they call it agent-oriented programming. I think this is the new terminology that is in use right now. It's agent-driven development. And how does this work? Well, agents don't wait for a function call, they perceive the environment. And then on the perception, so do you see, this is kind of like why I am creating this kind of space, is so that we can actually perceive what AI agent would be able to see. Now, belief, desire, and intention. The agent knows with the RAG, desire, with what it's trying to achieve, and we have logic. Now, let's ask it, let's first, we're going to also, let's ask the question, now, what would be a programming language that is good in terms of, for agents, accuracy, complexity management, and I would say maintainability. I was also thinking, here's a question for you. You know, we have junior programmers. Even the term programmer, will this terminology stay forever? And I wonder what will happen in the next 5 years. How will the industry change? Because if we are really kind of thinking about it from a point of view of the industry, is there even an industry that is going to maintain the same traditions as okay, so let's, like I said, I'm just following what Gemini is telling me. So TypeScript is the maintainability king. So TypeScript in 2026 has surpassed Python in many AI native production environments. TypeScript, it has this accuracy, and it has a type safety, and it's good with complexity management, and it has a good ecosystem for agent SDKs, and it's maintainable. Honestly, I like TypeScript. You know why? So I'm going to pick TypeScript for now, for the logic. So okay, so now let's make it into this kind of decider. So I'm going to we're going to use TypeScript. Rust maybe later, if we are like building, you know, hundreds of requests per second. And I think, why don't we commit, test, and then push and deploy using our CLI. Okay. Now let's fire up our agentic, or attempt at creating an agentic user interface that would work. So we can write ideas here, and we can work, we can capture, that's a plan, we can have the pipeline of ideas, but it is not yet the most amazing. I think what we can do is I need like a proper notepad, like the old-fashioned notepads, and I'm wondering if it would not be better. I was thinking, would not it be better if let me see. Okay, so we have inputs, we have outputs, And what I'm trying to find is primitives, because any good system, we need a primitive way of representing the data. And while we have our fancy animation that is really cool, let's we've already settled upon TypeScript, so this is what I'm going to use for the rest of this project. Now I will see if our left, oh, this has become complicated and I don't see the tab. Let's see if I go to the world. Ooh, look at that. But I don't see how I can switch it. And I can go here. Well, let me remove the split screen. Let me disable, close the left view, okay? And honestly, I do not see the tabs. So chat, tell me, which one out of all of these would you pick for our default world? Let's think about this for a second. Which one would you pick for our world? My pool, this is just this one. Okay, so if I have to rank it, if I have to rank the worlds that we've created, I think I would choose Drift is a good one. It does not show. Our default port should be 3467. Okay. Let me see if I see any tabs. Well, is that HTML? I do not see the tabs. Okay, I can code. Can I type any code here? Can I type? It seems like I can type. And can I say something? What is intelligence? What is intelligence? What is okay, what is intelligence? What is time? We're gonna do those three things. What is intelligence? What is time? What is space? What is intelligence? What is time? And what is space? Is going to be our queries. And if we are thinking if we're thinking in terms of pure okay, so let me zoom out here and I will go in our system. Let's see if I actually we have these three questions. Oh my god, this is nice. And you see the maneuver I have here? I can move it around. I can go left and right. And this is going to be kind of like what my imagination. We have the primitives here. This is the primitives of each. Now, I want to do something else. I think I want the simplest 3 views. What is intelligence? And then represent that. What is time? Represent that. What is space? Represent that. And the next quadrant is what is code? And then do people like to see code, you know, like when we okay, so now if we have a universe that has 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11, we have 11 worlds here, and we have some nodes. I would say we have 11 worlds, and how about we represent them on a map? So let's create a separate page, and that page will have the map, and we can select the worlds. In fact, I'm going to try to show that full screen on the left, where you can see everything to further enhance the system. And this is what we have so far for the screen. And the screen should have okay, so a stylized map, a 3D interactive scene. I would want it like that. I would want a 3D interactive map, and I can click okay. I can have a go button. Okay, so this is going to be the next challenge. It's going to be able to see if we can represent, if we can have a map. The map will look just like this when we go on. I go on garden. So I want the map to look just like that. And if I have a question about, you know, procedural low poly terrain 3D, what would I use? What would I do to represent what is the state of 3D animation and actually in terms of graphics generation, animation, because we're going to create a new set of worlds here. At the same time, let me check the start ideas. We start with an idea, but I could clear this, honestly. I could clear this and all right. Okay, so why don't I clear the ideas and Oh, that's settlement. Settlement is the most beautiful one. Settlement is the most beautiful world. And I'm going to read another passage. Oh, that is regard. Ooh, look at the. Okay. I think now what I should focus on is okay. I think yes. Okay, so say I want to have a header that says the robot technological laboratories. Okay. So as of 2026, there's creative supervision. Reading and rendering has collapsed. There's the AI augmented pipeline. Now, what does this do? Let me see. Please read our 2 draft ideas. Okay. Generative 3D modeling. Meshi. Okay. Automated rigging. I wonder about that. Okay. Alright, there's motion capture for film studios. This might be very complicated. Okay, I think I would want to a mix of the idea data structure. Let's see if we can actually represent time travel. How would we approach this? I think it's time to bring an actual, IDE. So it's time to write some code. That's the thing, I think, with let's go at the color theme. What I'm going to do is I'm going to blindly take a look at the code. Okay? I'm going to blindly take a look at the code because I think it is important to see what I'm working with. Therefore, I shall take a look at this and see. Okay. Now I have worlds.html and I just realized something. The system has already failed me. It is how many lines? It is 1,000 lines of code. Do you see where we are in this world? At the same time that we should not focus on the code, it is essential that we actually Okay, what about widget? Okay, so this is absolutely crucial that okay, let's see here. I'm gonna let it do what it has to do. In the meantime, that's my observation. This is not good. Okay, this is configuration files. Accepts. I would not put that here. I'll put it somewhere else. Package.json. Okay, sparse. Not a lot of dependencies, except for Three.js and that. What about the map? Okay. So my first and foremost task is basically to ask it to, after this feature, I'm actually gonna put this here. I'm going to say that unfortunately, thank you for developing this prototype. After this feature that you added, first we're going to commit, and then after, what we're going to do is we're going to we are going to make sure that we use template inheritance and that we think about components. And are we using plain.js? What is our UI framework? Because we might need maybe not a full framework, but a way to use components so that we have separations of concerns. But I think we are going to have some heavy refactoring and simplification, and this is going to be our tasks. And honestly, I think you should spin up 3 sub agents and implement the next version of this. Now, while this is loading, let me check to see if the world that I've created has let me refresh that. I do not see the map. Do I have to go to map? Map.html. Okay, so there's a map. It's like a universe, and let's see if that's going to make any difference. So that's the universe, really. If I click on one, nothing happens. Let me zoom in. Okay. Alright, that's fine. Now, I would... it's nothing impressive to... okay. Working, we have our thing, dashboard. I like that dashboard. I think that's much better. The design system, and the changes. The queue is not working as expected. So it's all right. So this is what I'm going to do. I am going to explore this idea of custom operating system. In fact, I'm going to write about it. I think okay. As a corollary to this idea, I would like to explore custom on-the-fly procedural operating systems. Let's see. Let's see if we're gonna have okay. So there is a system called AIOS, LLM Agent Operating System, and it treats, okay, so this one, it treats, you have the contextual scheduling. Okay, for honestly, this is too low level. I would want to do it differently. So I would first, we have the shared JavaScript modules. Okay, so I want to have which one would be better? I do not mind the web component lit. More boilerplate. I don't mind the boilerplate. Oops. Let me say I don't mind. Okay. So with that being said, I'm going to create an experiment where, okay, so I don't mind the boilerplate. We're gonna let it do its thing. Now this is the worlds that we have. In the worlds, I want to be able to click on it to actually see. This is the still world. It's almost like in 3D, and I can zoom in and actually see some activity right here. Now it would be important to see if we could okay, I'm going to be explicit. I'm going to tell it that okay, so you know how Windows, they all have this kernel, but I want what sits on top of it. Isn't that what they call the shell? Let's find out. Let us find out what okay, in the procedural operating system we have the engine room, and we have the generative experience layer, just-in-time interface. That's an important okay, I need a notepad. Just-in-time interface. I want to explore this idea. So basically it says that when you say I need to color grade this 3D scene, it does not open a program, but it renders a custom interface. That's actually interesting. I've been experimenting with this. I would want to let's actually do a live activity of an agent as it's coming, and this took a while, but I want to see if I have a custom IDE. All I want is to check something. I want to ask it if it can write an article for me. Would you be able to tell me about just-in-time user interfaces? And I think it's going to be okay. Let's see how long it took to actually build this. And another question is, can I quit it? Can I go back here Can I go to one other screen? Or, okay. So I have sessions. We have the chat sessions here. Got a new article, which is okay. So that's what I was fearing, that it was going to not be get an agent to do's. Okay. Now just end time user interfaces. Okay. And this should be saved in a database, honestly. And let's see. While we have this running, our little worlds, instead of I'm going to go back to my yes, please do. I'm trying to see something. The deploy, we have GitHub Actions with deploy to production, optimize, workflow. Okay. Okay. I'm going to duplicate this. I'm going to open my index, and I want to see what is intelligence. It tells me that intelligence is what? Forming connections in the void. I mean, is that okay? What is time? The current that carries all things. Okay. Now let me, the infinite between everything. So to write, I'm gonna actually write some code to actually start. We're going to open a new directory, but in the meantime, let me, what is space? The infinite between everything. Ooh, that's actually a nice one. And I'm going to open, actually gonna write some proper code in here, because I think it is important to keep that fresh, you know. So I'm going to maybe leave in there for a while. So let's improve, let me improve the code. Okay, so let's do the old-fashioned way, you know. Let me do it the old-fashioned way. So what do we need? Okay, let's go real quickly. Let's create an idea pad. I'm gonna say idea.md. In here, I'm basically going to say, all right, so what, okay, so what I need, okay, I would say flow of ideas. Questions. How did programmers program before Stack Overflow? How did they program before the internet? How did they program before LLMs? Okay, that's just random ideas. So what do I want to build here? I want to split my screen in half. Okay, so looking at the HTML, okay, so all I'm gonna say is a very simple query. which is okay. So what is code? I think the system has stolen intelligence, a living neural network, no drifts and pulse. Okay. Let's split our page in half. Let's introduce interactivity. Left we have code. Right we have results. Make sure it looks vertically stacked. Okay, now things are vertically stacked. Let me check the world that I created, and the interactivity is disabled, unfortunately. Let me check my custom IDE that I've created. Okay, so this is the article. It says a user interface, it's a contact point between a human and a system. So here's another idea. When I select in the article, when I select a piece of text, I can right click and I can highlight it and store it. So whether that system is a computer, a phone, or a car dashboard, you present information and you can accept and put. So command line error. Okay. All right. Touch and beyond. All right. Now let's see if I can split. I cannot type into this terminal. Okay. Okay. Well, what if I close this? Let me go back to the old screen. Seems like by default. Okay. Worlds. Worlds. The worlds. This is the Explorer. Okay. All right. Now let's recreate do we have template inheritance for worlds.html? Let's break down worlds.html. Okay. We're going to let this do, but let me refresh the elemental questions. What is space? The space is what is in between. So I'm going to let this boil over for a bit. But here, you see the terminal is not working yet. And I don't have a resize panel. Remember, I'm not trying to recreate Visual Studio Code. If you look at Visual Studio Code, it has this left panel here, which is interesting, but I would rather have I have to let the system warm up. In fact, I'm going to create an app.js, I'm going to app.js, and I want to Control I. I want to create a simple, I would say, note element that will save to a JSON file. Okay, so let's let it scaffold. Now it's just spitting out code at light speed, and it requires FS. FS is It's a node thing that lets you interact with the file system. You have the path, you have Express, the body parser, and now what does the body parser do? Well, honestly, it kind of makes sense what it does. Well, let's explain it. If I don't understand it, I'll explain it. Can you please explain? Let me see. Is there an explainer? I would say, can I launch Claude? Nope. Okay. Body parser. Modify review. In fact, I'm going to launch Copilot here. And then I'm going to say, for each major part of the code, can we have a comment explaining what the code is doing? And for our HTML UI, can we split that into its own string? Okay, simple enough. Let me see what the user interface is doing. It has a resize handle. So I'm going to check here to see if it has fulfilled its promise. So this is the old original view. Now if I refresh it, and now I have this. Okay. Now, I think if I run it, I have intelligence. I can decrease or increase the number of nodes. And this actually makes sense, right? Intelligence. If I'm trying to visualize intelligence, I would make it like that. Now, what if I want to visualize time? I don't know about time here. You can create some particles. What about the other one? Space. Okay. Ooh, this is nice. Okay, so we have a cascade, and these are the characters. And you give it something. Okay. So how about, I would say that I would report an issue. I would say, please implement. You already have kind of like the gist of it. Please do breaking changes as much as you can. That's what I learned. Sometimes you have to make breaking changes, and when we are where is that coming from? Okay. Now, let me see. I'm gonna let this cook for a little bit and come back to our... Okay. Let me see now if I refresh. Okay. And that's elimination. I'm going to now look up this concept. I want to say that I cannot type to the terminal and nothing. So we have to isolate the terminal feature and improve it. Use some test-driven development. All right. So let me go back to the code. Let me keep everything. And I'm going to keep everything here too. Okay, so now we have a better explanation. And we use Express.js, server static file, and with a basic HTML user interface. Okay, so I'm going to actually use a proper Claude. I'm going to use Claude Opus 6, and I'm going to make a request to it. Here, as you can see, this sometimes we don't let the So here's how I would do it. I would maybe check. Okay, I want to check the result here. Okay, so this is what it looks like. I can resize. All right, so I'm gonna have a to-do. I'm gonna have a to-do. Instead of ideas, I'm gonna have a to-dos.md. Start with the markdown, and I'm just gonna say first, move away from the spacey theme. Let's have a grid. Let's have a grid, and we can also use other geometry. Okay, we can use other geometry. And third, I would say we can expand the definition and drop the left panel. It's not intuitive, in favor of a rich text lightweight editor. The rich text lightweight editor. Okay. And then I would also say what is a good way to, I don't know, componentize our system. And I actually want to pick a stack, but let me just put that in the Copilot for now. Let it cook for a minute. Meanwhile, I'm going to check on my user interface to see. Okay, so this is the procedure, right? Like I can go on any angle. This is the first. That's the space between the spaces. Now, if you see at the faint distance right here, there is a on other worlds. Let's see now if I go to the agentic. How about here? I'm going to allow this time. So if you look at the center, you see when I speak, the world moves with my speech. And I want to have it how about we create like an upbeat, catchy song, almost like cartoonish. Okay, you see when I speak, it shows. That's another feature. Now, I remember the notes that I had, and we were talking about this kind of special type of user interface. I want to check it. It's the just-in-time interface. So let's see how I can represent just-in-time interface. And let's continue with okay, so can you tell me about just-in-time interfaces? Any studies, any papers, any way? I'm gonna check this out, and I want to refresh this, and I want to see, I would like to see what is happening. Now, cannot type to the terminal, so we have to isolate the terminal. I want to clear all the context, and while this is boiling, this is a simple code editor. We're posting to notes. We have a request. We grab the text from the body, and if there's no text, we just return a 404. That's simple enough, right? And we return the 404, and we also say, well, it's not a 404, it's a 400, and then we say the note is required. And then if it did not fail here, then we're just gonna be able to read it. save the date. I mean, I think this could be refactored a little better. So I'm going to say this here, but let me keep all the files first before I go back into that code to actually see what should be fixed. In the meantime, I've had this other let me clear. I'm going to clear this. Okay. And I'm going to go back to my trusty terminal. I want to see if let's transition this. Type in the terminal. I want to make a request to say that I'm gonna keep everything. Sure. And let's have a palette cleanser. These are the different worlds. Oh, this is broken, sadly. I wanted to show you the different worlds, but it should still work. It is still working, so that's why. Let me refresh that. And I think that's the part with kind of LLM driven development is what do you do? What do I do when the stuff is working? You know, when it's boiling, you know, kind of like a stove. What do I do with your hands while the agent is working in the background? And I think what I've discovered is that first monitor the code to see what is going on, because that's important. Kind of to monitor the code as you go, because like for example, let me close everything. Let me save that, and I can read it as things are going. So I can go into the app.js to see if there's any complication. Okay, no complication. What about this other app.js? You see there's another point of confusion here. Okay, let me take a look at what it says. So now it says it has to be an express. I would say, how would I run it? Can I just click on the index, or do I have to serve it? That'll be a good question, because we have a runtime and I have to serve it. So let me open the terminal. Node app.js. I'm gonna allow it, and I'm going to see what result I will get. It's starting the server. I might get an error because it needs to install the packages, right? And while this is installing the package, I want to check the concept that I was exploring, which is the just-in-time interfaces. They call it now GenUI, or ephemeral user interface, because remember back in the days, remember the article? It's basically, is the code more important, or is the code more important, or is it what we want the computer to do? If the code is more important, right? Here's what I'm trying to say. This is Visual Studio Code, right? It was made with what technology? It was made with Electron. Electron is web technologies. Who would have thought that Microsoft would build, this system like that? So when you go into just-in-time interfaces, you can see that research papers have said that they call it bespoke tailored, and it was introduced in 2025. People actually preferred generated interfaces. People actually preferred them in 70% of the cases. So this is actually a good area of investment. So let me actually paste that in the comment. I'm going to say that using LLM agents to generate just-in-time interfaces. I'm going to put that in the comments so that the audience can actually see. Interfaces. Users prefer these generated interfaces over chatbots. You know what that means? What this is trying to say here? I'm going to show you what that is going to say, what that means. I'm going to open up another project that I have that will dissect, that will kind of show you like a CLI session from scratch. And in fact, I'm going to use that. I'm going to use this as an example to show you what I mean by that. But before, I will go on localhost and actually open the start to see if we can actually see something. So right now I have a blue screen and it says it's live, but if I open it, it says page not found, and I think we have another server that's running at port 300. We should have another port like 2389. Okay. In the meantime, let me go back to the discussion, and this is going to be important because just-in-time interfaces are the way to go. So why don't we spend the rest of the evening trying to understand and explore just-in-time interfaces. Now, we have also something called prototype flow. How does it work? We call the model serialization latency. So it needs to happen under 100 milliseconds. So it's not just, it might not be, but I think I can build a primitive one once the system is, once the system has kick-started. I think that's the thing with developing code like that. It's, and I think that's what I like. I want to take a look at my website to show you the example that I mean. This is my website. I build tools and experiment and things that work. And one of the articles, I'm going to start writing more. And I'm going to remove a lot of fluff from this. What I mean fluff is like certain things. Like, for example, this is actually real because this is the response time of my system, and deployments is kind of like project stuff, and this is actually provided by but the areas that I've been focusing on lately is front end, it's back end with Django, .NET, Fast API sometimes, but I prefer Flasks because it's a little bit more flexible, and then database and infrastructure, pipelines, automation, and machine learning, which is very important things to know. Now, in my article that I've written about CLI design, I'm going to we basically, it's tied to this just-in-time interface idea. How? Well, when first you have this view, this is the human readable view, it's like a table. But what happens when the machine wants to read it? You show it as JSON, same data. It is the same exact data, but it is different, and the difference is accentuated by the simplification of it. Okay. Second rule is you have to fail loudly and precisely. So you deploy something to production, you don't just say error, operation fail. You would be surprised to see how many systems are actually doing this, actually do it like that and not the proper way. This is a good error, cannot push to production, and you give some details like you say your auth is expired or something. Now that's a good design. Show progress for anything that takes time. What does that mean? If I run a demo, you show a nice little progress bar as things are moving along. This is important so that the user doesn't feel like something is bad or something is broken in the system. We have to respect the Unix pipeline. For those who don't understand, Linux has this idea of a pipeline where everything is text. So basically deploy list JSON. The result is in JSON. You take that result, you pipe it into another program. This program then take that result, pipe it into another program called sort until it is finished. Now you have standard input, standard error. So you put things where they belong. If there is a success, it stays in standard input. If there is a failure, you put it in standard error. And then there is another one, it's called sensible default. It's when basically the user is typing something like sync, that's obvious. Sync environment production, that's obvious. So stuff like that is important. Help, is a good help message like that. I need to fix my syntax slider, but you get the point. Ask before you destroy. So for example, you see here, and then it says cannot be undone. It asks for confirmation, yes, no, before you proceed. And that's basically the idea. Another idea to explore is, I'm going to write more about this, but I also was thinking that there's this idea of a self-healing deployment pipeline. What does that mean? So for example, when you're deploying something on the user interface, you need branded error pages. So don't just show like an error, oh, this is an error. No, you have to say, be creative with the error message. That's what I'm trying to say. And then at every stage, do you get a 200? Is the site responding? Is the service running? Do we have our statics files? And then have a mechanism for rollbacks. So when you deploy something, if it fails, roll back to the last working commit. That way the users won't see the website is broken. So you deploy the code. After the code is deployed, services are restarted, health checks are done, so like tests and any other linting and stuff. If it failed, you roll back to the last good one, restart the service, notify that something has failed, and it just healed. If not, save the hash success, and then that's it. The hash is basically the last, that means it's the git sha, and it's a 30-second kind of window where everything works. So that was it for kind of what I'm trying to say. So let's go back to the code to actually see now the state of our system. So I'm going to close this and I'm going to allow, and I should see this new. I'm going to copy this and I'm going to put it in the user interface so you can see. Now, first thing I notice is that it is very dark. What is Claude Code's obsession with dark thing? Am I the only one who actually noticed that? So I'm going to actually say that everything is way too dark. I think we need like a lighter background so that the thing pops better. I say it like that. I use a very mundane, but you see everything is so dark. But the idea is that we have a window, concentric rings, radial, isometric, and I can type notes here. Now this is the worlds. This is like procedural kind of, remember here I was talking about this procedural worlds, and this is what procedural worlds are. They are you don't create the model by hand, it's all code in mathematics, and it's kind of like from first principles, and you can create things. First we have Kindle. What is the idea of a Kindle? It's kind of like, you see, that's the first one. The second one is release, where you have something that's releasing a burst of energy, and it's releasing a burst of energy. And then we have descend. What is descend? It's something that's up that is going down. And we have this as great. Can I capture my cursor? I do not see the capture cursor, but it's okay. Now the next one is called fuse. Ooh, that one is so satisfying. A bit glitchy, but it's so satisfying. It has this kind of portal, almost spaceship like quality to it, and you can actually move in and out. The third one is called still. Still is like very still. It's almost like the night after snow has fallen, and it's just very peaceful, very calm, very nice. And you have those little swirls, spirals. It's almost like a twist on those old 80s, 90s, 70s even wireframe art that we used to see in movies, and this is what it looks like now. And then we have drift. Drift is kind of like, you see things drifting into each other, like that's the art piece of it, and that's the idea. Bloom is almost like a oasis, and you can even fly through with the arrows keys. And echo is beautiful. It has this vivid yellow quality to it, and you can zoom in out. You see it crowds the system. That's echo. And now void, it's like this almost, I think, what's the name for this geometrical shape? Is it a rhombus? Is it, I would have to get up to date with the name, but I think it's something like that. And settlement is the I would say the most now let's switch to a light theme. Let's refresh. Let's refresh this. Now we have a light theme. Yes, I know developers, hackers, they love dark themes, but to explore the idea here better, we have to see it. Okay, so tessellation, lattice of polygons, and isometric grid. This is this kind of like a rubber band feeling, and I think an isometric grid, those three are good enough. But I think the first thing I want to write is, first of all, if I write something here, will it save to the database? Where is the save button? It's upper left. Okay, so I'm going to put this here. I'm going to open my Visual Studio Agent. And what I found that is important is that once you finish a task, you can clear it, clear the agent, have a new one. And I'm going to go here, upper left. Okay, I'm going to save this. And I'm also going to say maybe we should also have a different expression. For the foregrid, first, represent time. Second, represent intelligence. Third, represent time travel. And third, represent a race. People running. Use 2D or 3D, whichever. So while this is going, we're gonna go and explore another subject that is kind of actually interesting. This is, like I said, anything goes, anything flows. And now we're going to do something that we haven't done before, and I think it is important for the audience to actually take a look at that, because we're going to go into something that is interesting. Let me go back and transition to our system. Okay. Now, let me exit the worlds and let's continue within this article here. Now, the concept is gonna be called, let me see if the active window was supposed to be Chrome, and it's not. It should be maybe here or here, but it's not showing what should be shown. Therefore, I'm going to go and we're going to talk about this while the code is running. Now, remember how we were talking about layers of technology? Like, for example, in the they always say, you know, like the African continent has received little attention when it comes to if you read any history books, you read any sort of anything, you'll just see one part of the world is known for science and technology. In another part, they don't really talk about it, and it's kind of very important. Now, if you go back to, let's use caveman kind of principle, and let's actually go and actually look at our, let's say you are a caveman, okay? And you go outside in the desert or in the jungle or in the plain, in the savannah, and you see something that's just very, very, very bright, like that. And when you touch it, it burns. And then when you eat next to meat, it makes the meat tasty. And if it's cold, it makes you warm. Now, some bright early human decided, they're like, okay, how can we capture this thing and actually recreate it and master it? And now everybody has this thing in their hands. It's like to create the ability to capture and create fire. Anybody who could master this at that time, this was high technology, high tech, being able to capture something and actually cook food, warm yourself with it, and build. You can even build stuff with it, do agriculture and farming. So this is what we have to actually have to understand when it comes to kind of technology, is that it builds on top of each other, just like we're doing here with vibe coding. We are poking at an idea. We have to first understand that let's actually look at the bone. And there is a bone that is called, remember, it's just like when you see a Ford Model T. And the Ford Model T is, you're like, oh, that's primitive technology. But at that time, it was the most advanced thing that could be done. Well, it is the same. Is if you go far back enough, when those technologies were being discovered, they were not, they were extremely mind-blowing at the time. And remember, technology is additive. You add to it. You add to it, you add to it. Just like the first computer was very, very, compared to a computer that we have now, would you say that at the time this computer was primitive? No, it was extremely advanced. And this is kind of like the same example with what we're trying to do here, is kind of like recreating kind of like these ideas to kind of show it. Now, while this is loading, let me refresh the screen. And this is the concept of time. This is the concept of intelligence. This is the concept of time travel. And this is the concept of running. Now, let's ask the question, what is the first what is technology? What is technology? What is technology? What is science? And let's actually go into Gemini and let's actually, to make this even more interesting, how about we okay, so this is time travel. We're experiencing time travel here, and we're going to make, while our system is loading, we're going to do another illustration. Now let's go back in time to metallurgy, especially actually would like to talk about the concept of civilization for a moment. What is civilization? Okay, what is a civilization? What is a civilization? And I think I want to take a moment to really focus on this terminology here. The first thing we have to understand is what is the ideal environment for a human to thrive? Okay. Second thing is, what is the ideal society? And I think the third one would be, what is the let's keep that question open for now. What is, there's no question here. What is? So without further ado, we're going to explore this idea in a first. I'm going to describe, let's and I want, okay, so now it's not working. I have a local issue tracker too, you know. All of this is my local issue tracker. So this is all of the, so it's almost like GitHub, but on my own machine. So let's say that Africa holds the world's oldest record of human technological achievement. Many modern concepts of math have roots in African soil, mathematics and computing. The Limbombo bone, 35,000 BCE, is the world's oldest mathematical artifact, and it was used. It's almost like the world's first calculator that was discovered, estimated 35,000. And where is Eswatini? Eswatini is in East Africa. So if we want to visualize that in the map, we can go and try to figure out where this country is located. And this country of Eswatini is located here. If we go in, we have Malawi. Eswatini is at this bottom part of the African continent. And to actually show you some perspective, we want to actually take a moment to see there's something they call the Mercator projection. It's a way to solve how can we display the globe, which is this globe, like that, on a flat map. And the solution was to stretch some and squeeze some others. Now, you would be surprised. Let me remove the United States. And to actually show you what I mean, I'm going to grab this. This is almost like probably bigger than Africa, right? And let's say I take Greenland, okay? I take Greenland, which looks almost the same size, but let me grab it to show you exactly what it actually looks like. Look at how distorted the map is. So, do you see that we've taken this entire one and put it here? Actually, I'm going to put it here. Now I'm going to grab another big giant country. I'm going to take China. Okay. I'm going to take China. And I'm going to grab China. And I can also fit China inside of, if there was a rotation thing, but technically, if we're talking about volume and mass, I can fit all of China. If I could rotate it, you would see. But let's actually remove Greenland. Let me put it here. I can fit all of China inside of Africa. And I can take Australia. Okay, I'm going to try to grab Australia. And I'm going to move it here. And we can fit some very big continents, more or less, inside of. And let's actually make it even more interesting. I can take the United States and I can put it inside of Africa with room to spare. I could also grab maybe, let's take Sweden. Let me grab Sweden. And I can put Sweden inside of Africa. I could grab Norway. I could grab France. Let me try grab France. And I can fit France also inside of Africa. I could take, do you see what I'm trying to show you here? Is that this was the illustration that I was trying to show. Now, where am I trying to get by making this illustration? It is to show that now the binary system, the IFA, was first discovered. Now traditional, there's a fractal geometry by Ela settlement. Let's actually take a look at this. You know, there's this thing about ancient humans, is the Ela people. They are from Zambia. And what is the Ba-Ela settlements? And they look like that. It's like this fractal kind of shape. And fractal wings. So they have probably discovered this concept and try to represent it. Because if you look at the fern, you see how the leaf, this leaf is like the leaf also looks like a leaf in the fern fractal. It actually looked like that. The leaf looks like a leaf, and the leaves inside of the leaves also. If I open that in a new tab, open image in a new tab. Okay, so this is the leaf. You see the shape of it. Now, if you look at the baby leaf here, at that branch here, it actually looks like the whole thing. If we keep zooming in,